explain that a lot more, but not right here. We just give them the highlights. And so if a person can take a breath, calm down, breathe, get some control, then what's the next thing?
The second step is to get clarity. You're not going to be able to think clearly about the situation until you're calm, which is another reason that is the first step. So the second step is once you're calm and able to logically think through some things.
Or at least, yes, at least calm enough to think. You may not be perfectly calm.
Right, at least calm enough to think. Then here, the second step is really about getting clarity on what's really going on. Why are they unhappy? Why did they leave? What part, if any, did you play or have you played over the past in this happening? So getting clarity on the environment, the situation, the behaviors that are going on, how people are feeling, so that you can really then understand what you need to continue to do in the next 5 steps to turn the marriage around.
And getting clarity can take a long time. Because we'll ask people sometimes, well, what's going on? What has your spouse said to you? Well, he or she really hasn't said anything. They just packed up and left.
Out of the blue. They always say it's out of the blue. But the more you prod, it wasn't out of the blue.
No, but people think it is.
But people think.
And so we say, okay, getting clarity, and Kimberly has already alluded to this, understand that it may mean some self-analysis, finding out how you contributed, if you contributed. It may mean that you'll find that you may be blaming yourself for something that's not your fault, and that it really is a different category out there altogether. And so rather than beating yourself up, you need to be able to understand it's not about me, it's about that situation, that thing happening out there. And we need to understand more about what might be motivating your spouse at this point, and to why he or she is acting the way they're acting. And if you get clarity, then you'll begin to understand how to react. When on some days your spouse acts like everything's wonderful, even though she or he's now living someplace else, and you think, wow, maybe we're getting back together. And then the next day they act like they have no use for you whatsoever, and you're thinking, why? We get that question all the time. Why did my spouse say this?
Oh my goodness.
Why
What
did
do
my
you
spouse
think
do
it
that?
meant when they put 2 periods at the end of the sentence instead of 1? I wish that was the saturation. But yes, people get that deep into the analysis. So really the second step is all about evaluation. Let's evaluate the full situation so that we have a better idea of how step 3 will come into play.
But understand in that evaluation, you're going to need some professional help.
Yes.
Because being so deeply emotionally involved in it, it's going to be very difficult for you to be unbiased about yourself, about your spouse, about the situation. And therefore, what we do in Marriage Helper is that we help people think through learning principles. These are some basic relationship principles. Understand this, and this. And based on what your spouse is doing, there's some even other things we can teach you about what's happening underneath all that. Being able to learn all that on your own, is that possible? Sure. Just spend a few years researching, learning all those different principles, and then unbiasedly apply it to your own situation. Or we'd love to help you with that. So the second thing is get clarity, but you have to get clarity, otherwise you're going to be going in the wrong direction. And so, all right, now that they've gotten some clarity, and we can help them do that through our teachings, through our webinars, through our courses, through our coaches. Once we help them get clarity as to what's going on, we may not be able to answer every single question like, why were there 2 periods at the end of the sentence? Once we help them get clarity, they got, okay, I can see the picture now.
All right.
Then, what do we do next?
Yes, so then the third step is to stop pushes and start pulls. So what are the pushes and pulls? The pushes and pulls are the terminology that we've put around how we either attract our spouse to us or repel our spouse away from us. Now there's things we do that lead to that, but then there's also external pushes and pulls that could be pushing your spouse away from you, or pulling your spouse away from you, or pushing them back towards you. So there's kind of a balance that goes into this and thinking about it, but the idea is what you can control is you. So how can you stop the pushes that you are bringing knowingly or unknowingly into the situation, and how can you begin pulling to the extent that you have control over, doing the things that can pull your spouse back towards you.
Generally speaking, and if you listen
Good
to
stuff.
relationship